As a police dog sniffed a shipping container and alerted the customs officers, they cautiously approached, uncertain of what lay within. Upon opening the door, a noxious odor wafted out, suggesting a distressing occurrence within. In the bustling ports of Shenzhen, China, dedicated police dog diligently patrolled his beat, oblivious to the significance of his role in thwarting the infiltration of contraband and weapons into the country. The task was a source of pure delight for him, punctuated by the promise of treats. Over 15 containers without proper documentation demanded the officer's scrutiny, a formidable challenge that savvy smugglers sought to exploit amid the ensuing chaos. Little did they know of the officer's adeptness, a fact that might have led them to reconsider their scheme. A trio from the anti-smuggling unit, seasoned professionals with a recent string of successes, promptly set course for the first container upon receiving their orders. Their initial investigations unveiled no illicit cargo, merely innocuous shipments of toys and phone cases, underlining the potential for paperwork errors in a port of such frenetic activity. Yet, as the customs officials methodically inspected each successive container, they encountered an enigma in the fourth, a baffling puzzle that would occupy their energies for months to come. Ultimately, it would evolve into a gripping global news sensation, entwining the customs authorities with a far-reaching international criminal syndicate. Approaching container number 5702, their suspicion was piqued by an unusual detail. The place of origin indicated 3 different ports, one of them clearly crossed out. Though this raised their concerns, the container appeared outwardly intact and well-maintained. To expedite their inspections, one official signaled a lack of suspicion, considering that smugglers often use older containers to elude detection. With a multitude of containers awaiting examination, time was of the essence. However, the police dog behaved atypically. It seated itself squarely in front of the container and refused to budge, its tongue hanging out. Despite the officials' attempts to coax the dog away, it was evident that the canine had detected something of significance. The dog's resolute stance indicated a successful identification of specific odors it had been trained to detect. Though uncertain of the container's exact contents, the customs officials sensed that something concealed within warranted further scrutiny. While police dogs could sometimes make errors, especially in the presence of potent food or meat scents, they decided to open the container as a response to the dog's alert. Armed with bolt cutters, one official grappled with the stubborn, rusted red doors. When they finally swung open, they found bags filled with a strange, light, coal-like material. The substance left black stains on their skin when touched like charcoal. However, as soon as they opened one bag, a terrible smell overwhelmed them, making them cough and struggle to breathe. Even the police dog was momentarily disoriented by the odor. Officials sensed something unusual and possibly dangerous, so they called in health inspectors for help. The area was secured, and a thorough investigation began. The unfamiliar smell indicated they were dealing with something significant, starting a historical investigation. This was unlike anything they had encountered before. It turned out to be more than just an illegal item. It was a unique living creature. The animal had traveled over 7,000 miles from the African forest. A man in Africa, desperate to escape poverty, had been on a determined quest to catch this elusive creature for days. Using clues from nature, like stripped tree bark and ant nests with claw marks, the man finally spotted the animal. He set up traps and successfully caught 5 of these elusive creatures. When morning came, the man approached the net and carefully examined the animals. They were curled up, trying to protect themselves, but he could see their unique features. They had tails that stretched along their bodies, blending into their backs, which had thick and rounded guards. Their claws were tiny, even smaller than cats, but what made them valuable were the scales covering their skin. These animals were in high demand because of their unique appearance. The man who caught them planned to sell them to a local dealer, a small player in a larger poaching network. The money he could make from selling them was significant. Unfortunately, the animals' fate was grim. They would be killed, their scales removed, and shipped to China. But this time, customs officials, with their police dog's help, intercepted the shipment. It was a historic moment for the country, and the police credited their canine companion for the success. Inside the container, they found something shocking: thousands upon thousands of pangolin scales. These scales belonged to a species that has become the most trafficked animal in the world, despite being highly illegal due to its endangered status. Pangolins are protected by both national and international laws, with 2 of their species being classified as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. In China, Pangolins are protected and their consumption is illegal, carrying penalties of up to 10 years in prison. Despite the absence of scientific evidence, pangolin scales are utilized in traditional medicine, driving up demand. However, the efficacy of these practices remains dubious due to the lack of robust scientific support. Escalating demand for pangolin scales has emboldened traffickers, who resort to bribery and open illegal activities. These pangolin syndicates have emerged as formidable criminal entities within the country. While substantial pangolin scale seizures have occurred previously, the quantity in this case was unprecedented for port officials, weighing in at nearly 12 tons, equivalent to scales from around 20,000 to 30,000 pangolins. It suggests that the poachers behind this shipment may be pushing the species towards extinction. The seizure of the container marked a pivotal moment in the authorities' investigation, inching them closer to a trafficking syndicate spanning from Africa to China, where their primary clientele resided. Illegal pangolin trade frequently initiated in Africa, home to 4 of the 8 pangolin species. However, the true orchestrators of this operation were rooted in China. The customs team faced a formidable challenge in their months-long inquiry, as the syndicate had operated unchecked, accumulating substantial wealth. The most recent container alone held a value in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nevertheless, this financial gain paled in significance when weighed against the loss of 30,000 pangolins. Investigators confronted substantial hurdles in identifying the culprits responsible for this dreadful mass slaughter. Their resources were limited, with only false names on shipping documents as evidence. Pinning their hopes on the crate label, they enlisted a specialized team to dismantle the smuggling network. Expert analysis traced the pangolin scales back to Africa, narrowing the pool of potential suspects. After scrutinizing countless documents and conducting on-site investigations, they ultimately apprehended 2 individuals, He and Li, as prime suspects. This breakthrough represented a significant triumph, drawing them nearer to the protection of pangolins. Li, a seasoned smuggler with a history of evading capture, vehemently denied any involvement with the pangolin scales. Even when incriminating photos were found on his cell phone, he claimed he had purchased the phone secondhand and wasn't responsible for the pictures. Despite strong evidence against Li, his alibi shielded him from immediate arrest. Without concrete proof linking him directly to the crime, the investigators couldn't detain him. Determined not to relent, the investigators had nearly pinned down Li's guilt. Fortunately, Li unintentionally left a crucial clue in one of the scale photos, his foot, featuring a distinctive mole. By meticulously comparing the foot in the image with Li's actual one, they secured the conclusive evidence required for charges. In this case, they outsmarted the criminal. Further probing unveiled Li and he as partners in numerous lucrative ventures, amassing a staggering $758,000. Both culprits had taken the same flight to the African country where the pangolin scales originated. Li managed the shipping operations from Africa to China, while he handled sales and ensured customer satisfaction in China. The arrest uncovered a vast smuggling network involving potentially hundreds of individuals. Investigators realized their work was just the tip of the iceberg, with a larger criminal operation at play, all in the name of pangolin protection and dismantling the criminal network. This investigation emphasized the global urgency of combating illegal wildlife trade and safeguarding endangered species. Li and he were not isolated. Their collaboration was part of a larger puzzle with fellow criminals and smugglers. In another case, China's Intermediate People's Court sentenced 17 individuals for smuggling 23 tons of pangolin scales, valued at millions, from Nigeria. China has taken significant measures to safeguard wildlife, including removing pangolin body parts from traditional medicine and elevating pangolin's protector status. Strict enforcement of laws and imposing severe penalties is vital for endangered species protection. Collective efforts, driven by heightened awareness, reinforced legislation, enhanced enforcement, and sustainable practices, are essential to ensure pangolin's survival. Let us unite in protecting these extraordinary creatures.